Hello students, today we are going to discuss the chapter We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together, written by Gordon Cook and Ellen Est. About the story. It is a story of adventure. It brings home the idea that if we are determined, we can overcome our hardships and difficulties. Especially in this story, the bravery shown by two children is a source of inspiration for the captain of the ship. We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together presents a vivid account of a risky voyage undertaken by the narrator with his wife Mary and children. It focuses on the value of living and sinking together. Collective efforts can make our risk easily surmountable. Death is not awesome if we put our heads and hearts together to face it. The lesson gives a graphic account of the voyage undertaken by the narrator, his wife Mary, his son Jonathan, aged 6, and daughter Suzanne, aged 7. In July 1976, they all set from England to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years ago by Captain Cook. It was on January 2nd that a gigantic wave broke over their ship. The family was badly bruised, but they didn't lose heart and resolved to remain together in life and death. At last, they succeeded in anchoring offshore a small island safely. The Europeans are enterprising and adventure loving. These very qualities enable them to sail around the world, discover new routes and new lands, and ultimately colonize them. A few countries ruled over nearly half of the world. Closeness to sea and then better experiences of tempest or storms made them strong enough to challenge death. This lesson recounts the story of a businessman, his wife, and two little children. For 16 years, the man prepared himself for the round the world voyage. He built a big boat and undertook a risky expedition. He sailed smoothly up to the tip of South Africa, but as he moved eastward, he faced gales. He hired two helpers to tackle the world's roughest sea, the Southern Indian Ocean. He set out in July 1976. On Jan 2nd, he faced the huge waves and fought for survival against a deadly sea. He was badly wounded, so was the wave walker. His boat, which got damaged, but he sailed on and on. He finally set his foot on a small island. His children also were not afraid to die, provided they were all together. This is the essence of the story. So, theme of the story is actually this story of adventure brings home the idea that if we are determined and hopeful, we can come even out of the jaws of death itself. The bravery shown by two children inspires the captain, their father, to continue the struggle till the ship lands somewhere safely. In spite of being badly injured, the children show exemplary courage. It is this type of courage which makes one overcome all odds on the way to success. Another theme of the story is that the human instinct for survival works even in the most desperate situations. When the captain is thrown into the sea, he feels for a while that his end is near, but then the will to survive overpowers. He struggles hard and is able to be on the board again. Larry and Herb, the two foreigners, also show rare courage and work hard to save the ship. Title of the story. The title of the story is absolutely apt and suggestive. The title of the story comes from the words uttered by the captain's son, Jonathan. We aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. It is most apt and suggestive as it brings out the spirit of courage and fortitude of the captain's family, Jonathan and Shu's bravery inspires the captain to fight the odds and come out victorious of the stormy waters. Jonathan's words in particular reveal that death doesn't discourage those who are willing to face it bravely. Nothing can cut down a brave heart. So these are the characters of the story. Wave Walker, a 23rd meter 30-ton wooden hulled beauty, had been professionally built. The story revolves around the boat and the disastrous situation. The narrator, 37 years old businessman, Mary is the wife of the narrator. Jonathan and Suzanne both are son and daughters of the narrator. Crewmen, Larry Wiesel and Herb Sizzler. So, the amazing tale of the family who copied Cook's Great Voyage starts from here. Before this, there are some expressions, and if we inferring their meaning in the context of the text, the meanings are like this. Hone our seafaring skills. This refers to the efforts made by the author and his wife to perfect or sharpen their seafaring skills. Ominous silence. The silence here refers to an impending danger. Mayday calls are radio telephonic words which signal aircraft or ship stuck in a disastrous situation. Pinpricks in the vast ocean. This phrase expresses the search for two small islands in the vast ocean. A tousled head. This refers to hair in disarray or the disarranged hair of the author's son, Jonathan. Now the story begins from here. Let us summarize this. It was July 1976. The narrator, his wife Mary, son Jonathan 6 and daughter Suzanne 7 set sail from Plymouth, England. They wanted to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. For the last 16 years, they had spent all their leisure time in sharpening their seafaring skills. Their boat, Wave Walker, had been professionally built. It had been tested in the roughest weather for months. The first leg of their planned 3 years, 105,000 kilometer journey passed pleasantly. They took on two crewmen, American Larry Wiesel and Swiss Herb Sizzler. They were to help them tackle one of the roughest seas, the southern Indian Ocean. They sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. They were heading towards east. Suddenly, they encountered strong gales. For the next few weeks, they encountered strong gales. They blew continuously. The size of the waves were alarming. They went up to 15 meters, as high as their mainmast. They celebrated the Christmas in spite of rough weather. The weather continued to be bad even on the New Year's Day. On Jan 2nd, the waves were really huge. Endless big waves came rolling towards them. The wind simply screamed. To slow the boat down, they dropped the storm jeep. They tied heavy ropes across the stern. They attached lifelines, put on oil skins and life jackets. The first sign of the coming disaster came at about 6 p.m. The wind dropped, the sky grew dark. Then came a growing roar that changed into a thunder. A tremendous explosion took place. It shook the deck. A wall of green and white water broke over the ship. The narrator's head crushed into the well. He accepted his approach death. He was losing consciousness but felt quite peaceful. His head popped out of water. A few meters away, Wave Walker was near capsizing. Wave tossed him around the deck like a rag doll. His left ribs cracked. His mouth was filled with blood and broken teeth. Suddenly, the front door was thrown open and his wife Mary appeared. She cried, "We are sinking!" Larry and her were pumping like madmen. Clothes, crockery, charts, tin, and toys lay scattered in deep water. He crawled into the children's cabin. They were safe. Only Shue had a big bump above her eyes. At that time, the narrator had no time for bumped heads. By morning on Jan 3rd, the pumps kept the water level quite under control. They could take rest for 2 hours in rotation, but there was still a big leak below the water line. The boat's reef frames were smashed. They had survived for 15 hours since the waves hit them, but Wave Walker couldn't hold together long enough for them to reach Australia. The um, actually the narrators checked their charts. He calculated that there were two small islands a few 100 kilometers to the east. One of them, Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. Their only aim was to reach there. However, the great wave had put the auxiliary engine out of action. On January 4, the water level could be contained. They couldn't set any sail on the mainmast. However, they hoisted the Storm Jeep and headed for the two islands. They ate their first meal in almost 2 days, but their respite was short-lived. At 4 p.m., black clouds were building up behind them. Within the hour, the wind was back to 40 knots. The seas were getting higher. The weather remained rough throughout the night. By dawn on January 5, the situation remained desperate. The narrator had now time. He went in to comfort the children. John asked, "Daddy, are we going to die?" His father tried to assure him that they would make it. John went on, "We aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together." The narrator was speechless. That evening, Mary and her sat together. Mary and he sat together holding hands. They both felt that their end was very near. Wave Walker rode out the storm. The wind had eased by the morning of Jan 6. The narrator rechecked his own calculations. They were somewhere in 105,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65 kilometers wide island. If they were lucky, they could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. When he woke up, it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. He knew they must have missed the island. Thus, the collective strength and never failing optimism of the sailors made it possible for them to come out of the jaws of death. Though Jonathan and Susan did not do anything to save Wave Walker, but their courage, forbearance, faith, and optimism gave extra strength and persistence to the narrator and his team. The bravery of the strong-willed children is noteworthy in the story. So, the message of this story is quite clear. It is very much clear that optimism helps to endure the direct stress. The story has a clear message that hope beats every crisis. It is optimistic attitude that helps us to endure the direct stress. In the story, the narrator does not lose hope even in the face of crisis, threatening dangers. Larry and her two men in the crew also helped him greatly in his fight against heavy odds at the sea. In the midst of the crisis, the voyagers celebrate Christmas. This is a celebration of life actually. We shouldn't give up. We shouldn't abandon anything. We should face every situation with a smiling face. When the narrator is thrown overboard and gets injured badly, he does not give up hope. His ribs are cracked, his teeth are broken, and the mouth is filled with blood. Yet he is able to get back to the ship. He does his best to avert disaster. He repairs the damaged part of the ship. He asks the voyagers to go through life raft drill, attach lifelines, don oilskins and life jackets, and wait. He manages to pump almost the water out of the vessel even when the calls for help go unresponded. The voyagers hope to reach the Amsterdam safely. The optimism pays off when they steer the ship towards the island. Even the two children face the dangers meaningfully and have fun in the hours of crisis by drawing caricatures. So, ultimately, The chapter is a first person account of an adventurous ordeal experienced by a family. It is during the voyage. There are three sections of the text. The narration of events matches the mood of the voyage. The first section describes how the voyage began with great hope and fanfare in July 1976. They were attempting to duplicate the round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. Wavewalker had been professionally built. It had been thoroughly tested in the roughest weather. They sailed down to Cape Town. The trouble started only when they left Cape Town on Jan 2nd. The waves were gigantic and all that. The narration of the event mirrors the hectic efforts of the captain and the crew to protect Wavewalker. The second section, Search for an Island, describes their struggle for survival for the last 15 hours. On January 4, they ate their first meal in almost 2 days, but the respite was short lived. This also captures the highly emotional response of the children. John declared, "We are not afraid of dying. If we can all be together, you and Mummy, Sue and I." In the last section, Cheerful Landing, the narration shifts back to the relaxed style. The captain was sure to reach Amsterdam. John gave the good news. The island was in front of them. All the 28 inhabitants were there to cheer and help them ashore. So, it was the optimism of the narrator, the Captain Wavewalker, that saved the lives of his family and the crew members. The craft suffered serious damage during the storm and could have sunk with all on board. But the narrator had an extremely positive approach. There were never a thought of giving up or allowing the situation to get the better of him. Rather, he constantly looked for solutions in the solutions as problems came up one after the other. The narrator was calm throughout the crisis and was therefore able to meet the challenges of the moment. He and his crew members were determined to weather the storm, and he was thrown overboard but came back and hung onto the wheel. He arranged for pumping the sea water out. The children was a great source of strength to him. Their faith in him heightened his desire to protect them and his ship. Because of his calmness, he was able to make the best use of his navigation skills and seamanship. So, thank you for watching.